to the Cornermen, our second episode. First feedback is great audio-wise. What's up, Mama's boy?
What's going on, man? How's everything?
Good, man. How's it going with you, man? You still training for your fight?
Yep, still training in the gym, going hard.
Now, I know last time we talked, we were talking about the Pacquiao-Marquez match coming up. I mean, you didn't have much interest in it. After the fight, did it change your opinion a little bit?
I mean, it did, man. I'm not going to lie. It really changed my opinion of the fight. I would love to see another one. I think it was big for boxing, man. And first of all, I take my hat off to Manny Pacquiao, man. There's been a lot of pictures on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that of a lot of people making fun of him, man. And I just think it's kind of corny because I feel like there's a lot of haters. Manny Pacquiao accomplished so much in the sport. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. He got caught with a shot. That's what we love about the sport. Like, anything can happen at any given time. So he got caught with a good shot and he went down. But I don't think that diminished his career at all. I still think he's a great fighter, and I would love to see another one.
That is kind of the funny part too. It's kind of like they don't even acknowledge the fact that Pacquiao was this indestructible person at one point. It's kind of like, now that he lost, they want to make it seem like he's never lost before. I mean, that he's always losing,
Yeah. I think I had a lot to do with the people that don't really understand this sport. Like, if you talk to anybody that is a real big boxing head or boxing fan, then they have nothing but respect and positive things to say about Manny Pacquiao. But it's the fly-by-night fans that just watch the sport occasionally that don't understand the hard work that goes into it and the things that he's accomplished that really didn't appreciate him and made fun of him for that last fight. But like I said, he's definitely a legend, man. So I take my hat off to him.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, Marquez, do you look at him in a new light now, or?
No, I don't look at him in a new light. I mean, I've always respected Marquez as a great fighter and also a Hall of Famer. And they had 3 wars before that one, and I mean that was 20 years in the making, man. Marquez deserved it. He's a great fighter. He's one of the most skilled and one of the best fighters at his ability to adjust. Like he can pick up your style and find your flaws and expose them. So he's a great fighter. It was a great punch. I always thought Marquez was a great fighter. So I'm just happy to have it for him, and I want to see what's next.
Definitely. Yesterday, I don't know, you said you didn't get a chance to see it. Dominic versus Cunningham fought. Now, this had to be the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Well, maybe not the weirdest. I've seen a lot weirder in the sport. But now, the judges had originally scored it as a draw, 115-115. Cunningham's already upset because most people think Cunningham won the match. And it's a good look that it's on NBC on a Saturday afternoon. I love that fact. And then they just turn around and say, Michael Buffer goes, I misread the scorecard. It's 115-113, Adamic, the first one. 115-112, actually. And Adamic wins. I mean, do you is this something that just rolls with the punches in the world of boxing, or?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. Like I said, I missed the fight. Unfortunately, just a lot of traveling and picking up family members from the airport for the holidays and stuff like that. So I have the fight recorded on my TV, but I didn't watch it yet. But just based off the feedback on Facebook and Twitter, I feel like a lot of people thought that Cunningham won, and a lot of people were just as shocked as you were saying. It was crazy. It was weird. They thought he won. They felt like something was funny about how the decision came about from going from a draw to switching to Dominic winning. And I mean, you don't want to say it's just something that happens in boxing because, unfortunately, we shouldn't accept it. But I mean, at the end of the day, what can you do? There's nothing that can be done besides us complaining. But nothing can be done about our complaining. It just sucks. I still got to sit down and watch the fight. So I'm not going to make any judgment on who I thought won and stuff like that. Based off what I saw, it looked like it looked like Cunningham won the fight, but from what I read, but I didn't watch the fight yet, so I have no real opinion based on the fight.
Definitely. We're about to have Frank Espinoza on soon, owner of Espinoza Boxing. What do you think of ABNER Mars and such boxers like that?
Man, I think ABNER Mars is a great fighter. It's so funny. Somebody asked me recently what kind of style I think I have, what kind of style I was working on, and they asked me to compare my style to somebody that's out not right now. And it's funny, like the first person that came to my mind was ABNER, and I try to pattern myself, not pattern myself like him, but I find we fight the same way, which is kind of like a really aggressive fighter that comes forward, but still with the skill of a boxer, which incorporates a lot of defense and movement. So he took the style of a brawler or a banger like Alfredo Angulo or James Kirkland type of fighter, and added a little bit of finesse to it. And I think he's great, man. And I mean that's the kind of fighter that I'm trying to pattern myself to be like a great aggressive fighter with good head movement, because you know when you have those real big brawlers, they tend to leave themselves wide open a lot of times. They get hit with a lot of big shots. I'm trying to get that same output, but and effectiveness with a lot of punches, but better movement. So, and I think that he's mastered that, or he's on his way to mastering it. So I think he's a great fighter.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely somebody to look out for, as you are too. Let me not forget that. But you know, we got we also had Jorge Arce versus Nonito Donaire. What are you disappointed in the match, or was it more or less what you expected?
Yeah, that was exactly what I expected. I mean, I think Arce is a great fighter, but just stylistically, that fight wasn't a good fight, man. Nonito was just at a different level stylistically, and it says styles make fights. There's fighters that he could fight, Jorge could fight, and give them great fights that would still turn around and fight Donaire and give him great fights, but just them fighting each other, it was a lose situation for him, in my opinion. I'd have been shocked if it went any other way.
All right, a lot of people are saying Robert Garcia is Trainer of the Year. I mean, your thoughts on that?
Pretty much. I mean, who else?
He won it last year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I don't remember, to be honest with you, but probably. I mean, Robert, he got a bunch of great fighters coming up. I mean, he's doing his thing. So, I mean, you got a bunch of Freddie Roach fighters losing. You don't really hear too much about him. Not seen too much anymore. Although he's a great trainer. You got Ronnie Shields, who's a great trainer, and has a great some fighters coming up too. But I mean, Garcia's top dog right now, in my opinion.
Well, you mentioned it, and I just want to touch on it for a second. I mean, is Freddie Roach's is he on your corner? Is that getting a little diminished now with the losses that have came about with these boxers? What do you think?
I mean, to be honest with you, this is how I feel about Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is very knowledgeable. He's a very good trainer, and I don't think that his fighters losing these last couple of fights have anything to do with him not being a great trainer. Amir Khan was caught with a great shot by Danny Garcia. I mean, there's nothing you can't really get around that shot that happens in the sport. Same thing with Manny Pacquiao. He got caught with a great shot that happens in the sport. But what I think, though, more so than Freddie Roach being a great trainer, I always thought that Freddie Roach was a great and smart matchmaker. He always put his fighters in tough competitive fights. Not saying that he put them against a bunch of babies, because he puts them against great fighters, but they always matched up stylistically in his advantage, in my opinion. Like, he knew how to pick his opponents to the point where you would get a good fight, but his fighter should be able to win stylistically, and I think that's where his strength was. And it becomes harder to do that when you have a fighter like Manny Pacquiao, who's pretty much fought everybody, so you can't really pick based off your style. You got to fight the best now because he is at the top of the totem pole. Same thing with Amir Khan, pretty much had to go into the top of the weight class. Like, he had to fight the champions. So it gets harder to do that. And I feel like that was Freddie Roach's power. And I feel like that's kind of diminished. So now people look at it as if, like, oh, Freddie Roach is falling off as a trainer and stuff like that. But I still think he's a great trainer.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of feel the same way. I mean, Roach will always be the trainer that Roach is, but I mean, it does take a little sting away from the fan base of it. If you have his fans, his boxers losing, who this guy was unstoppable for like 3 or 4 years. If you had Freddie Roach on your corner, you were pretty much winning.
Yeah, but you know what though? Going back to Pacquiao, and I've heard a couple people say this. Touch on it real quick. Boxing is not Manny Pacquiao's top priority anymore, and I feel like and boxing is a selfish sport. As great as he is as a fighter, and that would never be taken away from him. If you don't give boxing your all, it's going to show in the ring. And I feel like he has a lot going on as far as the politics and religion and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he has his hands on a lot of different things right now, and I feel like that's a thing that's affecting his performance. Not necessarily Freddie Roach, but that. And if you look at same thing when you look at Chavez. Like, it wasn't really Freddie Roach's training that got him the loss. It was more of his discipline and his focus and his priorities. I don't feel like training today. I'm gonna stay at home. So like that, just watching the 24/7 episodes. I mean, you can't really diminish Freddie Roach's training in that case. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. We do have Frank Espinoza with us. From Espinoza Boxing, manager of ABNER Mars, Daniel De La Bonce, and a lot more. What's up, Frank?
Hey, what's up? How you doing, Jesse?
We're good, man. You're here with me and the mama's boy, Dennis Duglin. Dennis, you want to start it off with Frank?
What's going on, Frank? I just want to say, how are you doing, man? I follow you on not Facebook, but Twitter. We spoke a couple times on there. Congratulations to the great success you have with all your fighters, man. I think you're doing a great job with all of them.
Well, thank you very much. Really happy, really excited about all our young prospects, our champions. We had a great year this year with ABNER Mars, Ponce Leon, once again a two-time champion. We've had some good wins with Antonio Roscoe, up-and-comer. So we expect a great year of next year of 2013. We also signed that two-time Olympian, Oscar Valdez. He's a very hotly recruited fighter that was lucky we ended up signing him. And so we look for some good sensational things from him. I think he's going to be the next star coming up.
Definitely, Frank. What do we have? What do you guys have planned for ABNER as of late?
Well, right now, the fight that ABNER wants is the fight after Samuel Moreno. The only fight that we're looking at is with Nonito Donaire. That's a fight that we want to make in 2013. Oh, wow. Right now there hasn't been that much give between the promoters, Top Rank and Golden Boy, which is keeping the fight from happening. But we're still optimistic that the fight can happen and be made in 2013. It's an important fight for the fans and boxing. It's just too bad a great fight like that can't be made because of two promoters refuse to work together. You got to ask yourself, where does this leave the fighters? Where does it leave the fans? I mean, this is the fight that everybody wants, and this is the fight that we want next. The best fighting the best. I think I have the best champion in ABNER Mars that's fought everybody out there. I believe that he's fought the better fighters than Donaire. So I think this is what it's all about. This is what it comes down to. It comes down to fighting the best, and we want to fight the best. And Nonito Donaire is the best.
Well, I mean, I know who you got winning that match, Dennis. What do you think about that match, ABNER Mars versus Nonito Donaire in 2013?
Well, I agree 100%. It's definitely the fight that the fans want to see. I mean, besides, the talks about Pacquiao and Mayweather, that's the only other fight that I hear people talk about is Donaire versus Maris. So I think it's definitely a great fight. And it is unfortunate that it's the actual team that's preventing the fight from happening, not the fighters. They both called each other out pretty much after their fight. So I don't see what the problem would be. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I'm hoping it does happen sometime in 2013.
Well, I'm going to do everything on my end to make it happen.
What can we do? What can the fans, what can the radio shows, what can we do to make this fight happen?
I think what we have to do is even the networks that put on the big event, that paid the money to the promoter, paid these licensing fees, HBO, Showtime, have to put pressure on the promoters that are promoting the fight, that they give the licensing fees, to put pressure on them to bring the best fights for the fans. And that is one of the best fights, I think. The media also, pressing it to the promoters, the fans, reaching out to the promoters and putting this fight, we're, making sure that everybody knows that this is a fight that everybody wants to see. And so let's make it happen, and it's a shame if it won't happen, but I'm going to do everything on my end. I'm going to talk to Top Rank. I've already had talks with Golden Boy. They're on board. Golden Boy is willing to do this fight. Now we want to sit down and maybe we can work it out, all the with Top Rank, and then make this fight happen.
do you think it's strictly a promoter issue, or do you think either of the boxers, do you think Nonito Donaire maybe doesn't want Abner Mars at this point?
Well, I think he does. I think he really does. I mean, he knows that that's a big fight for him. That's a big money fight for him, as well as ourselves. I personally think he does want the fight. I mean, he's come out publicly and he's already said that this is a fight that he wants, and he wants to fight Abner. And we've made it clear too. I think it just, it's two promoters, and it's a shame when you have two promoters that are preventing from this to happen. Because we got to do it, for the sake of boxing, for the fans. And I think if everybody jumps on board and let them, their voice get out there, I think that this fight can happen. I really do.
Now, I know you manage one of the few boxers to be in great trilogies, Israel Vasquez with Vasquez Marquez. There was another one which actually turned into 4 matches that just happened. Pacquiao Marquez. I'm not sure if you got to see it this 2 Saturdays ago.
Yes, I did. It was a great fight.
Are you interested in seeing a 5th match, or what's your opinion on it, having been through 2 boxers that know each other so well?
I believe that this fight, Marquez and Pacquiao, is a fight that I think that Pacquiao, would have to see where he's at. Sometimes when you get out with a devastating punch like that, you got to know, take some time off and reevaluate, see if it really did affect him. But I think up to that point in time, Pacquiao was taking the fight to Marquez. So, and I think it was just a matter of a couple of rounds or so. I believe that Pacquiao would have won that fight. He was already busting him up, his nose and everything. But at the end of the round, I think it was the final couple of seconds, it just takes one punch, and that's what Marquez did, and he knocked out Pacquiao. But, yeah, I think the fight can be done. I certainly think so.
Okay, and what's new going on with I know we talked about Mars, the most famous one from your camp. What's going on with other boxers from your camp?
We got I think 2013, we're going to, now that, like I mentioned, Ponce de Leon's a 2-time champion now with us, and we're going to be going to New York at the Barclays Center. He's going to fight a Puerto Rican named Jason Fales. He'll be fighting March the 2nd at Barclays Center, so we'll be out there and defending his title. So that's going to be coming up. We have another kid, Ronnie Rios, that will be fighting also January 11th on Showbox. He's going to fight an ex-world champion by the name of Rico Ramos, which is going to be another good fight. I think it's a great fight for my fighter, and to step up to the next level. And, we have all my other young fighters that are coming up. Like I mentioned, Antonio Orozco, he's a fan. He's got this fan-pleasing crowd that love to see him. Very humble kid. I think there's good things coming for him in the future, too, as well.
And you also manage Carlos Molina, who just lost Amir Khan. Was this his big breakthrough, or can we expect to see Molina in the near future? Yeah,
this was a big fight. There's no shame what happened on this particular fight. Amir Khan, we lost a great fighter, and Amir Khan, Carlos was moving up to the next level where he was. He wanted the challenge. Also, we were venturing at that time at 140 pounds. I think after this fight, after looking at it, and you could see that Khan was a lot bigger. He was a lot faster. And I think now that, he was just being outclassed. And so, Molina, I still think there's a lot of good days in front of him. He stood there. He has that warrior spirit what the Mexican has, and I believe that now we're going to now look at venturing at 135. I think that's where he needs to be, and I think a lot of good fights could be coming his way. But Carlos definitely does not have nothing to be ashamed of. He stuck in there for 10 rounds, and it was just, it was just going to be the same thing for another 2 more rounds, and there was no need for him to keep going on. So, the corner did a good job in stopping that fight at that particular time.
Okay, my next question is for both of you guys. When are we going to see Dennis Mama's boy Doug Lynn signed to Espinoza Boxing?
Hey, I'm ready. I'm ready, baby.
Well, first, I'm currently signed to Al Heyman, so I'm in that contract. I'm happy with it as far as my team goes. But definitely, I think Frank does an excellent job with his fighters, and I have nothing but respect for the fighters. And I actually wanted to ask you, what do you look for when you sign your fighters? Because what I noticed with all your fighters is they're not afraid to step in the ring with anybody, and I think that's a great quality to have as a boxer. I'm trying to figure out how do you find that, like signing amateurs or signing pros that already have a couple of fights, because even the fights you just said between Ronnie Rios and Rico Ramos is a great fight for him coming up. I mean, Rico Ramos only has the one loss, and that was to Rigondeaux, who's amazing. So, I mean, to take that fight is a great fight, and I respect the fact that he's taking that fight. I mean, I remember him from the amateurs. I mean, he was a lot younger. He was coming out of the JOs when I saw him fight, but Ronnie Rios is really good, and I also remember Rico Ramos from the amateurs. So to see them fight each other so early in their careers, I'm happy to see fighters that aren't afraid to take fights to build themselves up. Like, that's what the sport needs.
You're absolutely right. I think there's a time where you have to take that next step. This is a time for Ronnie Rios. What I look for is pedigree of amateur background. I look at the amateur. I follow them and the amateurs, and generally what I look for is through the amateurs is a fighter that has the pro style and that will make easy adjustments into the pro ranks, and that's what I look for. Experience from the amateur backgrounds, how many titles they've won. Looking at his style of fighting. Making that adjustment to the pro. I look at all those things, and then just bring them along, and then we have like the Ronnie Rios, the Luis Ramos, the Antonio Roscos that have done very well and very proud. But a lot of people say, "Oh, you're a great manager," but to be a good manager, you got to have good fighters, and I've been blessed to have good fighters. I think that I enjoy taking fighters and down that road, that journey, to become. I like to be with them where I'm able to help them to become world champions. I really get a really enjoyment out of that is, helping the kids out. But I've been blessed as well, so I'm very lucky to have had great fighters too.
I actually wanted to go back on Mars for 1 second. Now, I remember when he faced Agbeko the first time, there was a bit of controversy to that match. The second time he came back and he won convincingly, more than convincingly. So, I mean, is this something that bothered the camp when you heard these talks after Agbeko, that a lot of people were saying that Agbeko won that match the first time around?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of controversy after that fight. I mean, he was taking a lot of, some blows that were considered south, and a lot of them, as a matter of fact. So, Abner and I had spoke about it after that fight, and we didn't have to. We could have went the other way, but we had called, talked to the IBF and told them, let's do it again, and let's prove it right there again, and this time let's make it clear and let's win the fight, the way I know Abner was going to win the fight, and sure enough, it kind of like quieted the people then. But we could have went another route, but we didn't. We wanted to prove that we are the great fighter that we are, and prove everybody wrong. And just like you said, I think now you see that he won it, convincingly.
Right. What's been going on with Israel Vasquez? I mean, I guess from his last showing, he wasn't really ready to. His eye was never really healed. Did it hurt him to retire? How was that feeling in the camp?
Yeah, it was. Israel has to move on. Right now, he has opened his own boxing gym. He's still affiliated with boxing. He's training little amateur kids right now, putting amateur shows at his boxing gym. But yeah, it did affect us. I mean, but we also know that it was now time for Israel to, to look at something else, because there is always things to do after boxing as well. He had a great career. I think, those 3 fights were the best fights I've seen in the last decade. And, Morales too, and Barrero, them were the other ones that were great fights. But, yeah, it was time. It was time. I think the cuts was a big thing for us, and we wanted to make sure that he was safe. So it was time for him to call it quits.
I know he's a good friend of yours, also, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he's a very good friend. As a matter of fact, on Christmas Day is his birthday, and we were just talking today, and I just told him today a little while ago, hey, don't forget, I'm going to call you on your birthday. On Christmas is your birthday. He goes, oh, yeah, you didn't forget. So, we keep in contact all the time. Yeah, we're good friends.
Happy birthday to Israel.
Yeah, thank you. So that's about it, really, what's been going on with as far as the Espinoza boxing. We're looking for good things for 2013, so we'll see what's coming up.
Did you get a chance to see the match yesterday between Cunningham and Adamic on NBC?
No, I didn't. See that fight. We were out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just telling Dennis this. I don't know. It's on a network TV, which is great for the sport, but it was just weird. And I'm just going to tell you, and you tell me what you think of the whole situation. Well, I mean, most people had Cunningham winning. When they first announced the scores, they announced it as a draw. Then Michael Buffer went back and said, I misread the scorecard. It was actually 115-112. Adamic wins. I mean, how do you take something like that, or do you just chalk it up to boxing as boxing?
Yeah, I kind of I mean, it's terrible when you make an announcement and you give the fighter the win on the scorecards, then you come back, and reevaluate the scoring. But yeah, that's boxing. It's terrible, how things sometimes do happen. But boxing's boxing. But I didn't see the fight. You said you had who winning?
I had Cunningham along with a lot of other people. I wouldn't say it was that clear cut of a victory where it was a straight robbery, but I mean it should have been a draw in my eyes at least. But I mean it was a great match, and it was just a weird outcome for the sport. So it was weird. If you guys get a chance to check that out, you guys should check out that
it's
match.
funny because that you mentioned that, because there was a scenario that just happened not that long ago with one of my fighters, Luis Ramos, and he was fighting that ex-Olympian Ricardo Williams, a silver medalist, and he was winning on the scorecards, and he got cut on both eyes, and on the left eye, the referee called it a headbutt, and then he got headbutted again, but he called that eye was cut by a punch. So the fight had stopped after the 5th round, and my fighter was winning on 2 of the scorecards, and but the doctor came into the corner. He says, and the referee said, "Hey, what eye did he stop it on? What eye was it? Are you stopping on the left or the right? Because the left was called a headbutt, the right was a punch." He says, "The right." So then he just called off the fight, and he called it a TKO in favor of Williams, which was very controversial. After reviewing the tape, it shows that both were done by headbutts, and so now. Wow. It's boxing, but we've already submitted an argument to the Commission of California to review it along with the tape, and hopefully, they do the right thing and view the tape and reverse that decision in favor of Luis Ramos. And we should know something in the next couple of months. But see, that it's a shame, but at that particular moment, you can't do anything about it. So now we have to go through the process.
Well, today is Sunday. Today's football day, and this has been talked about in boxing for a long time. football added, and this is for both of you guys, Dennis also, I want you to chime in on this, the video recap, the photo review, where you could challenge a play and you could look at the review. Do you think boxing at least owes like one of these reviews where the ref could go to the camera and review it and say, oh, I messed up here?
I mean, I personally think that they should establish something like that, because, I mean, a referee is just human, too. And we have a lot of older referees whose eyes probably aren't as great as they used to be. And he's human, and humans make mistakes at different angles. I mean, sometimes the referee has to constantly move around the ring. Sometimes they have a fighter has his back to the referee, and you miss things. So I feel like we should have something like that, because big decisions are made based off little things. Somebody, whether a shot was a low blow or a body shot. Now you have to figure out whether that's a 10-8 round or a 10-9 round. I mean, and little things like that change the whole fight around. So I definitely think there should be some type of review, like in the similar thing that what he just said, whether it was a punch or a headbutt. They should be able to look back at that. We shouldn't rely on them 100%. It's 2012 now. We have the technology. Every other sport is incorporating the technology into how they judge what's going on. Why isn't boxing?
I totally agree. I think you made a good point. I think there is human error. There's always, too, the position of a referee, not seeing a certain shot or a headbutt or whatever you may want to call it. But I think that, I think we're in the year 2000. I think that right now is a good time. Technology, like you said, I think that, it's important. I agree with him. I think there should be something in that respect, where we're able to go back and review the tape, because if you're 20-0, as for instance my fighter was, and to get that one, you want to protect your O, and you got to have that. I really believe that's very important. They do it in football. Why not boxing?
Great point, Frank. Thanks for joining us on the Cornermen, man. Second episode. Go ahead, tell us what's new with yourself, and go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking, right now, like I said, that 2013 is going to be a great year, and looking forward to it. I think a lot of good things are coming, and I want to look out for Oscar Valdez, a two-time Olympian I just signed. He's very popular here, also in the hotbed of Mexico. He's very popular. We signed him with Top Rank, and we're happy. So they seem to have a real long-term plan for him. So, look for all my fighters at Espinoza Boxing Club. And, we'll be making some big announcements. We got some pretty big surprises. I think that will shake up the world of boxing. But most of all, I want to wish you and Dennis and happy holidays and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you guys.
Well, thank you. You too.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, my man. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, buddy.
Mars Monito's in there. What do you think, Mama's boy, man? That's crazy, man. I would love to see that match.
Yeah, man. To be honest with you, I couldn't call it, man. That's one of those fights, and that's the type of fights that boxing needs. Fights where you can't really call it. You just gotta watch the fight, see what happens. I couldn't give you a winner. You have Nolito, who's I think is a little bit faster, a little bit better footwork, and probably a little bit more technical than Abner Maris. But then you have Abner with the constant pressure, constant coming forward, and that can break anybody down and get into your mind and change your style. And you can't afford to get tired, and you can't afford to make mistakes. So it becomes real tricky. I mean, that's a great fight. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that's great, man. I really hope the promoters could get together and make something like that happen. I mean, is it frustrating for you being on the boxing end of the world where you have to wait for these promoters to make it happen when you just want to get in there and fight with somebody?
Well, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm not at that point where I have to deal with that issue right now, because I'm not at a point where I'm in the top 10 and I want to fight the person above me, but there's signs of someone else. So that right now I'm still in the building process, so we haven't had an issue with promoters and getting opponents and stuff like that. But I can imagine just going up and what I'm dealing with, the little stuff that gets really difficult when you have people like Maris and Donaire who want to fight each other, but it's their promoters that's preventing the fight that from happening. I can definitely see that because I mean, on top of it being a great fight for the fans, it's a great fight for the sport and it's a great payday for the fighters. So I mean, it's a win-win-win situation for everyone. So I guess it does get very, very difficult to deal with. But like I said, I haven't dealt with that as yet.
Yeah, man. I mean, when he said that match, I was like, wow, that match definitely needs to happen. You know, Espinoza Boxing Club looks like they got some big things coming up in the future. Daniel Ponce de Leon, two-time champion that can't be denied. I mean, you know, they're going strong, and I don't know, they look like they could only get stronger at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like I said when I was talking to Frank, he has a way of picking his fighters. He picks really good fighters, and not just good skill-wise. He picks fighters that are fearless, and I think that quality is a big quality. I mean, you have fighters that come out of the amateurs that were great amateurs, but for some reason can't make the switch to the pros, and it has a lot to do with the mentality. A lot of people come on a scoring system, an amateur system, where you punch and run, just to get your scoring up, and they're not fighters that can bite down and sit there and exchange punches if they had to, and really go deep and pull out the best. And I feel like that's what Frank looks for. And he's been hitting on every fighter that he signs, and I think that's the difference in his fighters and a lot of other fighters. A lot of people have great fighters, but his fighters have like big hearts, and I think that makes a difference.
Right. I don't think we touched on this last time we were on the show. I believe it happened after last time we were on the show, but I know we didn't touch on it. Robert Guerrero and Andre Berto.
Yeah, we didn't touch on it.
Was that just weird seeing Berto try to switch to a Floyd style?
It was a little weird. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I felt like Berto had a great style. He has a great style. He's very fast, and I didn't get why he tried to fight like that. Just trying something new. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't call it we know that's the Mayweather style because that Mayweather has made it known in our day and age. But I mean that style has been used for fighters long before Mayweather. But Mayweather, like I said, has made it popularized it in our day and age. And I don't know if Berto was trying to mimic Mayweather or maybe a fighter from before our time that he's watched tapes on and decided he wanted to mimic that fighter. But I just think it didn't work. I think that fight was a tough fight for him to take after such a long layoff, and I think he'll be back.
Now, this is a conversation I've been having with a few people. Now, I think the rumor, well, as far as BoxRec has it at the moment, Robert the Ghost Guerrero versus Mayweather in May. That's what BoxRec has it at so far, but we all know it's liable to change. Now, do you really want to see the Ghost in there with Mayweather? I mean, I feel like Alvarez is such a better opponent for Mayweather, and I feel like Alvarez could be the one to stop him. I know you feel otherwise, but I mean, do you feel like Guerrero gives him a better shot?
To be honest with you, I don't think Guerrero has a chance to be Mayweather stylistically. So it probably won't be the best fight as far as for the fans because you're gonna just watch. In my opinion, we're gonna see Mayweather beat Guerrero up. But as far as Alvarez, I don't really think if he could come down in a weight, I don't think Mayweather should have to come. I mean, Alvarez is a big fighter, and Mayweather is the fight that everybody wants to make. So I think we should have to go to the fighter we want to fight. Mayweather has no reason to go up to fight Alvarez. Who's Alvarez to him? He's a great champion, and he's good as far as we're concerned. But, I mean, as far as Mayweather is concerned, Alvarez is nobody to him. So if Alvarez wants to fight, he has to come down. And I feel like that's where the problem lies because Alvarez can't go lower. So I think that's an unrealistic fight. We're not going to see that fight, in my opinion.
Alvarez Mayweather.
Yeah, I don't think that fight's going to happen. But if it were to happen,
in terms of the promoters or in terms of the boxers?
In terms of the boxers, just simply because it's a fight that really can't be made based off weights. Alvarez is too big. Mayweather fights.
Mayweather has fought at that weight before.
Yeah, but I personally don't see it happening. I mean, again, I could be wrong, But I don't see the fight happening at 54. I think Alvarez would have to come down, and I don't think Alvarez is going to be able to come down. So I don't think the fight's gonna happen.
Yeah, but I mean, he is Money Mayweather, and this is a huge payday. I mean, Alvarez is generating the fans that the sport has been lacking. I mean, I think he got the most ratings at HBO Boxing After Dark in years.
Yeah, but what happens is when you deal with fighters like Mayweather, you say he's gonna bring in revenue. Mayweather does it himself. So you look at a fight with Guerrero, where let's just throw numbers out, but Mayweather might make $20 million, and then as opposed to fighting Alvarez, where he'll make $25 million. To him, it's like, what's $5 million? You know what I'm saying? Like for Mayweather, to me, $5 million is a big difference. But to Mayweather, I don't really think that's a big deal to him as far as money goes.
I hear what you're saying, but I don't know, man. I really feel like Mayweather, I give him more credit than just taking Guerrero. I feel like he wants the Alvarez match. He wants to prove to people. And then I want to top this question off with another question, too. Pacquiao, Mayweather, after Pacquiao's performance, like Frank brought up a great point. If that fight would have continued, I mean, there's a good chance Pacquiao would have won that match. He had Marquez hurt badly.
I agree.
So it wasn't a horrible performance from Pacquiao at all. I mean, but why does it all of a sudden become that now Pacquiao doesn't put up a match against Mayweather and he doesn't even deserve a shot? What do you think?
Oh, I always thought that Mayweather would beat Pacquiao, and my opinion didn't change or get further widened by Pacquiao's loss. Like you said, it was a shot. He got caught with a good punch. He went down. But I don't think it takes anything away from him as a fighter in the whole. And I would still love to see Pacquiao and Mayweather. And I think all the true boxing fans still want to see that fight too. I mean, the average, like I said, the average fly-by-night boxing person probably doesn't want to see the fight anymore because they don't understand what goes on in the sport. They don't understand that one punch doesn't mean that you're bad now. I mean, but to a lot of people, you're only as good as your last fight. So to them, Pacquiao
right,
is good.
But I at one point, I mean, that was the fight that I have friends that aren't boxing fans at all, and that was the fight that were trying to get people to buy plane tickets out to Dallas Stadium if it were to happen, and I mean, that was the fight that could single-handedly bring boxing back.
I mean, I agree, and I still think it could. Honestly, people say that the fight's diminished, and I mean, I guess to a point it is. But I'm telling you now, if they were to say tomorrow, if they would have announced that in May, Pacquiao was fighting Mayweather, the fight would still sell out. The fight would still be one of the biggest fights in boxing. The fight would still generate record-breaking numbers and pay-per-view buys at the front door. I mean, at the gate, everything. Like I said, real boxing fans understand what it is, and they still want to see that fight. So I know people right now that are in my gym that still tell me that they think Pacquiao would beat Mayweather.
I mean, styles make fights. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, you think Alvarez beats Floyd, but you don't think he beats Trout? And I don't like Trout for Alvarez. I don't like Trout really. I think Trout is going to run into a Paul Williams problem where he doesn't generate interest, number one, and he's hard to beat, very hard to beat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree with you. He's not a fan-friendly fighter. He doesn't have a fan-friendly style, and he's very awkward. He's very awkward to fight. He's a great fighter. I spar with him. He's a great fighter.
Right.
But he's very awkward and not really big with the fans and stuff like that. So I don't think he's gonna have that same problem that Paul Williams had though, because he's gonna get the big fights because one, he's without Heyman, and although Paul Williams without Heyman, I think Al Heyman has established a bigger force in the boxing game. I think he can make big fights happen. And then two, he just beat the champion. So although he was the champion, he just beat Cotto, and that's a big name. So I feel like he's now a big name. So fighters are gonna have to fight him. So as you look at the 154 weight class, eventually, if the Alvarez-Cotto fight happens or whether it doesn't happen, Alvarez is going to fight Trout. They didn't make it happen the first time after the Delvin Rodriguez fight because I guess they didn't feel like it was instant enough. But now that he beat Cotto, that fight is definitely being talked about. And I mean, any 154 fight that's coming up is gonna probably have to see Austin Trout.
I don't know about that because it's not like I don't really hear Trout's name mentioned that much. It's kind of like Alvarez versus Mayweather, Guerrero versus Mayweather, Trout. Oh yeah, Trout. He's in the back of people's minds, I think.
Well, I mean, it was his first big fight like that. I mean, like I said, the fight right before that was him and Delvin. So, I mean, he's really not that well known yet. And you got to understand, too, that the fight with Cotto and Austin Trout came up out of nowhere. Just like you're saying you didn't hear his name in the mix for the Saul Alvarez fight. You still don't hear his name in the Saul Alvarez fight. But his name wasn't in the mix at all. And then all of a sudden it was, Cotto's fighting my guy named Austin Trout. You didn't hear about it. So, I think that's the kind of power that Al Heyman has, and I think he's going to be able to get Austin Trout another fight. And, I mean, if you think about it, Austin Trout was already set to fight Saul Alvarez before he fought Delvin Rodriguez in the first place, but the fight was pulled off just because of, like I said, interest generated by that fight. Everybody thought that fight was kind of boring stylistically, and that's why he didn't fight. He ended up not fighting Saul Alvarez. But I think that fight is going to happen soon. So I'm thinking 2013, probably late 2013. 2013, we're going to see Austin Trout and Saul Alvarez. And I think it'll be a great fight.
Definitely. Larry Merchant did his last commentary on HBO for Nonito Donaire versus Jorge Ars. I mean, what do you think about it? I mean, I saw the flashback videos of him when he was there with Muhammad Ali and Sonny Liston with the infamous Phantom Punch. I mean, what do you think about Larry Merchant leaving? Who can replace him? I mean, will the new group be as good?
Well, this is how I feel. First off, I feel like Larry Merchant, they can't necessarily replace Larry Merchant. He was a personality that you can't replace. He's not a generic personality. He had a very, very interesting personality, very interesting opinion, and a lot of people didn't agree with a lot of stuff that Larry Merchant said, but we still listened. We still wanted to hear what he felt about it. Whether we wanted to hear it just so we can make fun of it, or we wanted to hear it because we wanted to call him crazy after he said it, you still cared. You still wanted to hear it because he had that kind of personality. So I don't think they're going to be able to find somebody that can replace that. But I also do think it was time for him to hang it up because he's getting older, and it's getting harder for him to watch the fights and have a valid opinion. The way I'm looking, the way I see it, I think he retired at the right time, and they just have to find somebody younger that might not be with that same personality, but just as interesting in their own way.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could have used Larry a little more. I mean, then I'm starting to think Harold Letterman is not going to be there. HBO is not going to feel the same.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, Harold Letterman, I can't wait when I'm judging a fight for Harold Letterman to pop up with his scores, like compare scores and hear how he's doing the fight. I mean, that's just something.
And you compare the scorecards.
Exactly. Like, that's just something that boxing people that watch the sport grew up with, that are used to. So it's going to be very difficult to switch to a different person and stuff like that. But I think they'll make it work. HBO will make it work. They'll find somebody good. But you're right. We could have used Larry a little longer, but I feel like he was coming to the time where he only had a little bit left in him, and why not go out like that?
Yeah, I would have liked to see him go out on a big fight, but I mean, it is what it is. When do we get a heavyweight boxer to take back the sport, get everybody interested again? I mean, what do you think? They showed a clip of Larry Merchant yesterday on Jim Lampley's fight show. Not yesterday, I'm sorry, yesterday. Jim Lampley's fight show, they showed a clip of Larry Merchant. And, this was years ago, like 10 or something years ago. And, he said, boxing's not going nowhere. Boxing's always going to be what it is. We've always had a black eye, and we've been the occasional forefront of the sport, but we've always been the black eye of the sports world. And what do you think? Like, do you think, like, there's a chance that this next Mike Tyson could come out, fans will get captivated again? Or do you think it's just pretty much boxing, it is what it is, it's not going nowhere, but it's not going nowhere further neither?
I think not only is boxing going, I think it's going to get bigger, and it keeps slowly increasing. People will talk about the death of boxing, like that, boxing is dying, but it's not. I mean, it's not dying at all. I think we have some pretty good, decent heavyweights coming up. They showed Deontay Wilder a few weeks back, or maybe 2 weeks ago, with his knockout over Calvin Price, and they have a couple of good heavyweights. They have the good Torhammer and I don't even know his name, to answer you. That's what yesterday on the card. I heard the other guy looked really good. So there's going to be some heavyweights that come up, and I mean that's what the sport is missing. We're missing the heavyweight knockouts. People want to watch boxing because they want to watch knockouts, and you look at the heavyweight class for those knockouts. Right now we don't have that exciting Mike Tyson style fighter that's coming in there and knocks people out. But I think it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It just takes time. But there's somewhere right now in the United States, there's a boxer, a heavyweight boxer in the gym, beating the bag up, getting ready, trying to become that guy. And I think that's what keeps boxing alive, because as soon as one person goes out, you have 10 boxers waiting to take his place, and they're getting hungrier and hungrier. So I think we'll definitely see boxing keep rising up. You look at like Mayweather, and people were saying when Mayweather leaves the sport, there's not going to be anybody with that type of personality, with that type of charisma that comes to his place. And now you have Adrian Broner, who is very similar to Mayweather, and people are starting to call him the new Mayweather. And I feel like that's pretty much what's going to happen with the sport in general. We're always going to have new fighters coming up that can be compared to the older fighters, and it's just going to keep getting growing and growing and getting better from there.
Broner is gaining quite a fan base for himself, and so like I said, so is Saul Alvarez, so is an ABNER Moore, so is an Nonito Donaire. I mean, they're all gaining the fan bases in general. Mama's boy, when Al Heyman comes up to you, I got any fight in the world for you. Who is it? Who do you want?
Who do I want to fight, you said?
Yeah, if Al Heyman comes up to you tomorrow and goes, I got any fight in the world that you want, who would you take?
To be honest with you, there's no fighter out there right now that I particularly want to fight. I just want to fight. I just want to get to the world title. My goal is the world title. So whoever has that belt around their waist when I get up to that point, that's who I want to fight. I'm not the kind of person, I mean, people can tell that just from my career right now as it is right now. I mean, I don't have an undefeated record. I have 2 losses. And I take tough fights. I really don't care. Right after my first loss, I fought a fighter that was supposed to be pretty good, and then went right into an undefeated fighter, beat that fight, and then went into another undefeated fighter. I'm not gonna duck any fighter. I'm gonna whoever they throw at me, I say yes to. And a lot of people look at that and say that might be a stupid way to do it, but that's how I'm gonna become the best in the sport. And I feel like when you're the best, truly, the best fall down sometimes. Like I feel like that's how they become the best, because they face challenges and they might not have been able to accomplish it, but they kept trying, and then eventually got to that point. Like for me, I would love to fight Charlo again if I got back up to that point, because I feel like I would beat him. So I just think that if he told me whoever, you want me to fight whoever, I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna train hard for it, and I'm gonna try to accomplish it.
No doubt, Mama's boy, next Sunday. Let's see if we can get ABNER Mars with us. What do you think?
Let's do it, man. That sounds great, man. Hopefully we can.
The Cornermen join us next Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Jesse Rican, Mama's boy. We out of here.